Good morning and welcome back. I'm just going to be doing a few videos for you today about what the processes we're going to have in terms of coming back into school, what it's going to be like in the classrooms, and more particularly about the entrance and exit procedures. So we're going to walk you all through those in a moment, and we're going to start by talking about how you get onto school premises. Now, in terms of entrance and exit to school, in order to keep things simple, we're going to have a one-way system for all people. That's for parents and pupils. So this will be the only entrance onto the school premises, and parents will come up, please, and then along the slope, please maintain the social distancing. And what you will do is you'll come along here, and then you will wait by these main gates here. Now these gates will not be unlocked until 8:20 on a morning, so please do not turn up before that time. Once those gates are open at 8:20, you'll move into the playground, and I'll talk to you in a moment about the entrance and exit system from there. So entrance, now this part only applies to parents of early years. If you're an early years parent, you'll queue here until we open the gates, but then you will proceed round the back of the building to early years as normal. We will have marshals out here to help direct you, but then you will come back around here, along the front of the school, and through these gates, and out the gates to the rear. Now for everybody else, the children are in the same classrooms as before, so year one of the first two classrooms, year two, and then years 3, 4, 5, 6 will wait on the end. But this is a really key part. We need you to arrive, please, take your child, send them to go and queue up outside their classroom, and then we need you to exit the school premises as soon as possible. Please do not hang around wanting to wave them off, make sure they're fine. We're wanting to have a flow of parents that will come through, be marked out for you. You just walk down the outside, you'll send your child, give them a wave, and then make your way to the exit at the back of the premises, and I'll take you there now. To the exit from the school premises. So all parents will come down the side here, out through this gate, onto the end, turn right, and down to the main entrance by Springhall Lane. We appreciate this means you're going to be walking around in a big loop, but this is making it easier. Please maintain your social distancing as you come through the grounds. The area we're stood now is where the year 3, 4, 5 and 6 are going to congregate first thing in the morning, and they will be lined up here. So it's very important that when you move through this area towards the rear there, you clear it as quickly as possible, please, and avoid as much contact as you can with the children. Okay, now for the benefit of the children, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about playground zones. So obviously we're very aware that it's vitally important for the children to be able to get out at break time and get some exercise. But we also want to maintain social distancing as much as possible. So in order to do this, we've created a rota so that no more than 2 classes will be out at playtime at any one point. Or if we have got more, we've got 4 completely separate zones for the classes to play in. So this area here where we stood is playground zone number 4. And within here is playground zone number 1. Playground zone number 3 starts here and goes to the halfway point, and playground zone number 2 goes right up to the end. Now classes will be allocated a playground zone for break time and for lunch time, so that they know exactly where they need to be, and the class teachers will talk them through this when they come back as part of the phased return. What we're going to do now is we're going to go inside, have a look at a couple of classrooms, have a look at the dining room, and get some more messages for you. So we've moved into the school building now. Now, in order to keep things as healthy as possible, what we've done is we've split the classes into bubbles. So early years will be one bubble and year 1 will be one bubble, but then after that all other classes will operate as an individual bubble. And this is to cut down on the amount of contacts that children have with other children. We're removing furniture from the classrooms that is unnecessary, making it as spaced out as possible. So this is a year 1 class. What we're going to do is we're going to pop briefly upstairs in a moment, and we're going to have a look at what the Key Stage 2 classes are going to look like, because they're going to be slightly different. Now, throughout the school, at various key points, we're going to continue to have our sanitising stations like we had for the summer school and like we had when we reopened again in June. Also, children will be actively washing their hands at any time they leave their bubble, when they come back in after break time, before and the end of lunch and things like that. We'll be maintaining the one-way system, so what we're going to do is we're going to go upstairs now using the one-way system, and this will operate for all members of staff and all pupils. And this is again to make sure that we maintain our high standards of hygiene. Lots of reminders for the children constantly, lots of reminders for the staff. Thank you. Okay, so we're now upstairs in Key Stage 2. We've come into the classroom. First thing we'll have done, we'll have washed our hands, and you'll notice in Key Stage 2 that the majority of desks are now laid out in rows. This is something we're going to be doing up until we're advised not to. It's following the advice for the older children to make sure we can keep the distancing as much as possible, but at the same time give the children all the opportunities to catch up on the education that they need to. Where we're going to head now is we're now going to head downstairs and we're going to go to the dining room, so we can talk a little bit about how the dining room will work, and I'm going to give you a couple of messages at the end about access to the office. Okay, so we're now in the dining room. Now obviously 350 people, there's a lot of children to get through to get them for the dinner. So in order to do this, we've adapted lunchtime so that there is a much more staggered approach to lunches, with classes having different start times and finishing times for lunch dependent on the age of the child. So for example, our youngest children in EYFS may be starting their lunch break around 11:30ish, 11:45, whereas the older children may not be starting their lunch break until nearly 12:05, 12:10. Each class will be allocated a lunch table on which they will sit. Now they will come as a class, they will sit as a class, they will eat as a class, and they will leave as a class. This is to maintain that we can maintain the flow of pupils around the school and keep the separation of the bubbles. After each class has used their table, the tables will be cleaned and sanitised. The pupils will take their belongings, they'll go to the tray station, they will walk in a single file around the outside of the room and then be escorted outside to break time by a member of staff. Now if your child is in early years, because we recognise that early years children take longer to eat and are not as familiar with our school system, we've set up a separate early years area where early years can all eat together. They'll be able to see their older brothers and sisters as they come into the school building for the lunch, so they'll get that familiarity, but they'll be in a nice, safe and secure environment. Okay, so this message is particularly for parents and carers. Because of the nature of the reopening, the school building is not going to be accessible to parents or carers unless that is by prior appointment. That means if you've got a message that you want to relay to the admin team or to relay to a member of staff, you either need to telephone the school or email us, and I would recommend using the email if it's not an urgent priority, on primary@thehalifaxacademy.org. We're only going to have one member of staff working in the office at this point. The other member of staff is going to be located further down the corridor, which means it's going to be very, very busy in here first thing in the morning. So can I please ask, if you think please before you phone, is this urgent? Can I send it as an email? We will respond to all emails as soon as possible. If for any reason you suddenly realise you've got a late item that needs to be dropped off for a child, there will be a table in the main entrance labelled, and all you need to make sure is that you drop the item off and it is labelled with the name of the child and the class that is going to. Please, can you put the full name of the child? We have certain children in certain classes where we have 5 children with the same name. Thank you. So that's the tour of the school. Obviously, as you can tell, a lot of work has gone into getting the systems in place ready for the children returning. We're doing everything we can to make sure it's as safe as possible, but we really need your help and support. We need you to turn up on time to school. We need you to follow our processes, please. If you've got anybody who is dropping the children off who isn't familiar, can you please make sure that they understand the processes we have to follow? Can we ask please that people don't try and walk in through the main drive, please? That gate will not be accessible. You must come in through the single entrance on Spring Hall Lane and exit out down the pathway on Spring Hall Lane. Thank you so much for cooperation. We're really looking forward to having your children back in here, and if we have to change any of our processes, we'll only change them if we absolutely need to, and it'll be in the best interest of everybody. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in a week's time.